Hey there, I'm Gabby, 36, female. All right, you all, let me tell you about the roller coaster of a ride I had with my ex-husband Yaz. Buckle up, 'cause it's going to be wild. So let me start by introducing myself. I'm Gabby, a free-spirited, wild at heart kind of gal. I love fiercely and passionately, and when someone messes with me, oh honey, they better be ready for some payback they won't forget. Enter my ex-husband, Yaz. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved him, but he had this weird obsession with his boss. Yeah, I know, it sounds like some crazy soap opera plot, but trust me, it's true. Yaz was one of those alpha male Chad bros, the type who peaked in high school, joined a frat, and partied like there was no tomorrow. To be honest, I always thought he was a bit of a loser, but love can be a funny thing, and I wanted him to do better for himself. But his clinginess to his boss was driving me nuts. He'd complain about him all the time, talking about how rich he was and how wild he was. He definitely met someone who could give him a run for his money. As time went on, I started noticing some deep-seated insecurities in him. Even though he didn't want to admit it, they were there, and they were starting to affect our relationship. I didn't care about this alpha male facade. I just wanted him to be real with me and himself. But that obsession with his boss? Oh, it was taking a toll on us. He'd spend way too much time talking about him and comparing himself to him. It was like a constant competition, and I felt like I was losing him to this bizarre boss crush. It got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. One night, after we had yet another argument about his boss, I decided to confront him. I told him straight up that he needed to figure out his priorities because I wasn't going to play second fiddle to his boss. Here's how that conversation went down between Yaz and me, word for word. Babe, you won't believe what Justin did today at work. He always tries to one-up me, and it's driving me crazy. Yaz, seriously, again with this Justin nonsense. Why do you even care so much about what he does? Just focus on your own work and be happy you have a job. You just don't get it, Gabby. He's always trying to show off, and I can't let him win. It's a matter of pride, Pride? Oh, come on, Yaz. This is getting ridiculous. It's like a never-ending pissing contest with you two. Can't you see that he's clearly better than you in some aspects, and that's okay? We all have our strengths. You aren't a lesser man just because he seems to be better than you. Better than me? You really think so? Thanks for the support, Gabby. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I'm just saying you should stop obsessing over him and focus on your own growth. You have so much potential, but you're wasting it on this stupid feud. You don't understand, Gabby. It's not just about him being better at work. It's about him having everything I don't. He's got a bigger house and a fancy car, and he's always taking his family on extravagant vacations. It's sick. And you think comparing yourself to him is going to solve anything? Yaz, it's time to grow up and stop this toxic competition. You're so caught up in trying to outdo him that you're missing the good things you have in your own life. You're not being supportive at all, Gabby. I'm honestly disgusted. Fine. If that's what you need, take it. But remember, I'm not the one driving a wedge between us. It's your unhealthy obsession with Justin and this constant need to prove yourself. I love you, but I can't be a part of this toxic cycle. And with that, Yaz stormed out of the house, leaving me feeling frustrated and exhausted. I didn't want to lose him, but I couldn't stand by and watch him destroy himself with this ridiculous feud. I hoped that he would come to his senses and realize that true happiness came from within, not from trying to outshine someone else. So there I was, chilling because I knew he just needed to cool off. I went to bed and expected him to come home in the morning, except he didn't. I thought it was strange, of course, but I brushed it off and went about my day. And then he didn't come later on that evening. Then he didn't come the next day, and then the next. I was worried about him, thinking something awful happened. I tried calling him, but he didn't respond. When I called his drinking buddies, they either said they had no clue where he was, or they dodged the question altogether. I knew they knew what was going on, and it pissed me off when they wouldn't tell me the truth. Well, guess what, you all? A whole week went by. Can you imagine that? A week! No texts, no calls, no nothing. I was ready to throw hands. The week without Yaz was agonizing. I continued to call him countless times, worried sick about where he could be and what he was doing. I couldn't believe he was behaving like this. When he finally showed up at the door, I was both relieved and angry. He stumbled in, clearly drunk as hell, and to my shock, he had some broad hanging on his arm. Yaz, where the hell have you been? I've been calling you all week and you just ignored me. I've been worried sick. Oh, look who finally decided to show some concern. I've been busy celebrating my victory. Victory? What are you talking about? And who the heck is this? I'm glad you asked, my dear wifey, or should I say ex-wifey. Excuse me? Yep. I just bagged Justin's wife, Ursula. The ultimate payback, babe. Are you out of your damn mind? Getting with someone to get back at their spouse is insane. You think this is some kind of twisted victory? Oh, Gabby, you have no idea what you've been missing. Yaz needed someone who understood him better, someone better than you. He's so dreamy and charming. Way better than Justin. Listen here, lady. You're just as delusional as he is. This isn't about understanding, it's about hurting me and trying to replace me. And, Yaz, I can't believe you'd throw away our marriage like this for some stupid feud with your stupid boss. I didn't throw anything away. Ursula gets me in a way you never did. We connect on a different level. Yaz, you're being ridiculous. You're drunk and making impulsive decisions. Go upstairs, sober up, and we can talk about all of this when you're clear-headed. I'm not going anywhere. Ursula and I are done with you and this miserable marriage. Yaz, please don't do this. We can work through our issues together. Cheating won't solve anything. Work through your issues? Face it, Gabby. You took him for granted and now he's found someone better. You have no idea what you're talking about. I loved him and supported him through everything. But he got lost in his own insecurities. Enough. I won't be belittled anymore. I'm leaving and there's nothing you can do about it. I tried my best to hold myself together and not go completely psycho on both of them. I tried to calmly explain that both of them were completely cuckoo. But they didn't care. They kept laughing in my face. I felt like a complete loser. I couldn't believe that Yaz was choosing this woman over our marriage. I had always loved him fiercely, and I thought he loved me too. But now it was clear that he was more interested in this twisted game of revenge than he was in our relationship. You're unbelievable, Yaz. Look, I just came to grab my stuff, that's all. I should run upstairs and burn everything you own, you sick freak. I mean, who does that? You don't even know this lady. Oh, sweetie, you can't even comprehend the connection we have. Your husband prefers a real woman, not someone who can't satisfy him. You're disgusting. You're both pathetic cheaters and you deserve each other. Watch what you say, Gabby. Ursula is a much better fit for me. Yeah, I can see that. Sleeping with your boss's wife and getting fired. What a power couple you two make. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Well, you couldn't keep your man satisfied and now he's mine. You can have him. I don't need a spineless coward who can't handle his own insecurities. Stop it, Gabby. This is why I can't stand being around you. You're so damn condescending. No, I'm standing up for myself. I won't let you walk all over me anymore. Just get your stuff and get out. Fine, I'm leaving. I don't bother. And don't bother trying to contact me. Ursula and I are starting a new life together. That's right. We're done with you and your drama. Good riddance. I deserve better than the two of you combined. Don't be like that, Gabby. It's not attractive. You're one to talk, buddy. You think any of this makes you look big and strong? You just look weak. Enough, Gabby. Shut the hell up. The only reason why you're acting like this is because you've realized just how badly you've messed up. You think you can find someone like me? Fat chance. You'll never find someone like me. I didn't even bother dignifying his stupid remark with a response. I just let them both go upstairs and collect Yaz's things. After Yaz and Ursula finally left, I just broke down, you know. I tried to act all tough in front of them, like their messed up actions didn't faze me, but inside, I was a wreck. My whole world came crashing down in no time, and it hurt like hell. I spent nights crying my eyes out, feeling this heavy weight in my chest. It was like a never-ending ache of betrayal and heartbreak. How could Yaz do this to me? How could he replace me so damn easily with someone else? In the following weeks, I couldn't help but check Yaz's social media, and what do I see? Him and Ursula, living it up like they're some kind of power couple. It made me sick to my stomach. When Yaz finally sent those damn divorce papers, it was like a slap in the face. He was serious about ending our marriage and starting fresh with Ursula. That's when anger took over, and I decided no more playing the victim. It was time for my revenge. Okay, so here's what went down after I got the divorce papers. Neil, my ex-husband Yaz's dad, came over to support me when I got them. It might have been weird, but we've always gotten along well, and to be honest, I've always found him pretty attractive. He's a good-looking, charming guy, the opposite of Yaz in many ways. Anyway, Neil hugged me and apologized for his son's dumb behavior. I appreciated that, but then things got kinda intense. We ended up having this romantic moment, and it made me realize that he could be a better match for me than Yaz ever was. So we started spending more time together, and he was a total lifesaver. He helped me out with stuff around the house that Yaz used to do. We got even closer. And one day, I just couldn't keep it in any longer. I told Neil that I had feelings for him. Neil, can we talk for a moment? Of course, Gabby. What's on your mind? I don't know how to say this, but I've been feeling something more between us. More? What do you mean? I mean, I've always felt a connection with you, even when I was with Yaz, and after everything that happened, spending time together made me realize that I have feelings for you, Neil. Gabby, I don't know what to say. I know it's complicated, and I never wanted to complicate things further, but I can't ignore what I feel, Neil. I've been trying to deny it, but it's there. Gabby, you were my son's wife. This is complicated, to say the least. I know. It's crazy, and I never saw this coming either. But the heart wants what it wants, right? And it's not like I planned for this to happen. You're right. It's just so unexpected, and I feel guilty because I've been having these feelings too, for longer than I'd like to admit, actually. Girl, it felt like all of this was coming out of a movie. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I would tell you what happened next, but I'm afraid this post has to be PG-13. Let's just say that things got a bit steamy between us after our confessions. I know it sounds crazy, but it wasn't like I planned for this to happen. We just connected on a whole other level, you know? So Neil and I kept getting closer, and it wasn't long before we started getting romantically involved. It felt like a breath of fresh air being with someone who actually appreciated me for who I was. Some of y'all might judge me, but I don't care. We're both adults, and we both deserve to be happy, and especially what his stupid son put me through. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted since he was the one who wanted a divorce. Speaking of which, I still hadn't gotten my revenge and I saw the perfect opportunity drop into my lap. You see, I had this wicked idea in my head. I thought, hey, if I get with Neil, not only will I be with a better man, but I'll also be sticking it to Yaz. It was like killing two birds with one stone, you know. So I spilled the beans to Neil about my little plan, and you know what? He was totally on board. He was just as disgusted with his son's behavior as I was. I mean, who wouldn't be? Yaz was acting like a complete jerk, and he needed a reality check. Then, one day, out of the blue, Yaz texts me on Instagram. He probably thought I was still hurting and wanted to rub salt in the wound. But little did he know, I was already plotting my revenge. I played it cool and made him believe that I was still all upset and frustrated. I knew he was falling right into my trap. I wanted him to think that he still had some control over me. But little did he know, I was just biding my time. I was going to get my revenge soon, and it was going to be sweet. I was done being hurt and humiliated by that loser, and I was going to show him that he couldn't mess with me anymore. All right, let's keep the drama going. So Yaz's big birthday bash was just around the corner, and he had this grand event planned with a whopping 200 guests invited. He was really going all out for this one, making a big show of it. Of course, he invited his dad, Neil, to come to the party, and get this, he even encouraged Neil to bring a date. Little did he know that I would be the plus one he was talking about. So the day of the event finally arrived, and I decided to look absolutely stunning. I wanted to show Yaz what he was missing out on, and looking good was just an extra way to hurt him. Petty, I know, but he deserved it. When Neil and I showed up at the party, you should have seen Yaz's face. He was completely shocked to see me there. I guess he had no clue that Neil and I were now a thing. The look on his face was priceless. "Gabby, what are you doing here?" "She's my date, Yaz. Surprised?" "You could say that." "Are you two serious? You're together now?" "Oh, very serious. Isn't that right, Neil?" "Damn right we are." But it didn't stop there. Oh no, we weren't done yet. Right in front of everyone, Neil and I shared a kiss. Yep, you read that right. We kissed right in front of Yaz. And let me tell you, the drama that unfolded was like something out of a reality show. "This is unbelievable, Dad. How could you do this to me?" "Don't you dare put this on me, Yaz. You made your own choices and I made mine." "He's right, Yaz. You wanted to play games, and now you're seeing the consequences." "You think this is some kind of game?" "That's your payback. You hurt me, and now you get to see how it feels." "You're just trying to get back at me. This is low, Gabby. Even for you, at my birthday party. This is all fake." Maybe at first I had intentions to get back at you. Actually, I was going to get with your arch nemesis at first, Justin. But after your dad came over to the house many, many times to hang out and comfort me, I got to admit I fell for him. And you know what? I'm grateful for how everything turned out. Now I'm with someone who actually loves me and treats me right. So I guess you could say I came here to thank you, really. "And I'll continue to treat her right, unlike how you did." Yaz started shouting at the top of his lungs, drawing everyone's attention to himself. He was making a complete scene, and it was embarrassing. He even had a camera crew there, and they turned to capture the whole drama unfolding. "This is so messed up." "No, what's messed up is how you treated me. You took me for granted and got with that lady just to spite me. Speaking of which, where is she now?" She left me after she realized I didn't have as much money as Justin." This might have been evil, but I honestly couldn't have helped but laugh. It was so embarrassing. Everyone was too stunned to speak as they watched everything go down live. "Shut the hell up, Gabby. This is all your fault." It's time for you to grow up, Yaz. Stop blaming others for your mistakes. I can't believe this is happening. Well, believe it because it's real. I'm moving on with someone who actually values me. Yaz continued to fight back, cussing at his father. Neil was sick of his son's behavior, and he didn't hold back in letting Yaz know it. He made it clear that he didn't care what Yaz thought about him being with me, since Yaz was the one who ended our marriage in the first place. And you know what? Yaz started to cry even harder, like a full-on ugly cry. It was embarrassing to watch. But honestly, I couldn't feel sorry for him. He brought all of this on himself with his ridiculous behavior. So there you have it, the ultimate showdown at Yaz's birthday party. Drama, tears and all. And you know what? I felt a lot of satisfaction in seeing him get a taste of his own medicine. I'm sure this would go down as one of the most embarrassing things to happen to him. As an update, Neil and I are still thriving, and Yaz has refused to come to all the invitations for family cookouts and gatherings when he heard that Neil and I would be coming. Guess he can't handle the heat. But no matter, because he will have to face us one day. Hey everyone, it's Monica and I'm 29 years old. Buckle up because I got a story that I never thought I'd be telling. You see, my whole life felt like it was tailor-made for someone else, not me. My parents were all about playing it safe. Safety first, safety last, basically. Safety was their middle name. It was ingrained in me to always take the safest route, which made my life as exciting as watching paint dry. Anyhow, here comes Andre. The guy was the epitome of safety. Christian, family-oriented, corporate job, heck. He probably had a stockpile of insurance policies just in case. He was Mr. White Picket Fence, and I figured, why not? Safe was my middle name too, after all. So we got hitched after college, and life went on just as expected. Predictable mornings, predictable evenings, and a predictably comfortable existence. But let me tell you, even the safest roads can take the craziest turns. So there I was, trapped in this suburban purgatory, feeling the weight of monotony creeping up on me like a ninja. Resentment? Oh, it was knocking on my door, and I was trying my best to keep it out. I couldn't punish my husband and kids with my behavior. I thought I was the problem, so obviously I had to fix it myself. But you know what they say, the more you resist, the stronger it gets. I found myself resenting the life I had chosen, the decisions that led me to this picturesque yet painfully dull existence. And yet, instead of breaking free, I decided to play the part even more convincingly. I dove into the world of stereotypical wife things. Neighborhood action plans? Oh, I was the captain of that ship. I had the moms in the area sign up for more activities than they could keep track of. But let me tell you, behind the perfectly arranged smiles and orchestrated events, I was drowning in boredom. I wanted something more for myself, but I felt like I was trapped. I yearned for something more, something that would make my heart race. But the suburban script said otherwise. Hiking, ice skating, or anything remotely exciting was off the table. It didn't fit the mold of who I was supposed to be. So I continued being the wine mom in suburbia, even though every sip felt like a drop of regret. Now, here's the kicker. Andre, my safety net, wasn't immune to the monotony either. Instead of acknowledging it, though, he took a different route. He'd lash out at me, nitpicking every little thing until our home became a war zone of passive-aggressive comments and resentful glances. Andre, can we please talk about what's been going on between us? What's there to talk about, Monica? You know exactly what I mean. This constant bickering, the tension. It's not healthy for either of us. Well, maybe if things were different around here, we wouldn't be having these issues. Different? How? I'm doing everything I can to make this a home, to be the wife you want me to be, but you keep nitpicking at everything. Do you resent me? What? How could you ask me that? Answer me. Do you resent all of this? Everything we built together? Yes? No? I don't know. It's all just too much. I think we need to talk to someone about us. What? Are you out of your mind? What's wrong with that? You want to humiliate me, huh? What would I look like going to some shrink? This wasn't part of the plan. There's no shame in getting help, Andre. I think we really need it. No, absolutely not. Listen, forget I ever said anything. Just drop it. So what? You're just giving up on us? I want this to work. Why can't you meet me halfway? I'm not saying that. Look, hey, don't cry, okay? Everything's gonna be okay. Just, I'm sorry, okay? Forget that I said anything, okay? Arguments became our currency, and apologies were just empty promises. I knew something had to change, but breaking free from this cycle felt like an impossible feat. The life I thought was safe and predictable had become a cage, and I was rattling the bars, desperate for a taste of freedom. On a hot summer day, I found out we were getting a new neighbor. It was a bit exciting because the houses next to ours had been empty forever. Finally, something different was about to happen, and I felt like a giddy schoolgirl. Watching through the living room window, I saw a moving truck pull up to the empty house. The idea of someone new moving in sparked some hope in me. Maybe this person could bring some life to our somewhat boring neighborhood. After a few days, I could hear the sounds of unpacking and setting up in the new neighbor's house. I couldn't help but peek through the curtains, curious about who this person was. The anticipation of meeting someone new was a welcome distraction from the tension that lingered between Andre and me. The day eventually came when we crossed paths. I thought it was high time we gave our neighbor a neighborly welcome, so I showed up at her doorstep with a bundt cake, some flowers, and a smile on my face. When she opened the door, I blurted out, "Hey there, you must be Agnes, our new neighbor. I'm Monica from next door. I brought you a cake and some flowers." "Oh, it's so good to meet you. Thank you for the warm welcome." "Of course. Welcome to the neighborhood. If you need anything, just let us know. We're always a knock away." "I really appreciate that. Come in. Let's chat a bit." "Sure thing. I've been so curious about the new person moving in. What brings you to our lovely suburban haven?" "Well, I moved here for work, and it seemed like a peaceful place. Plus, I've heard great things about the community, so I said, why not? It's generally quiet and safe for sure, but I have to admit it can get a bit too quiet at times." "Oh, I see. Well, I hope to add a bit of vibrancy to the place. By the way, would you like to join me for lunch? I'm making some jollof rice." "Jollof? What's that?" "You don't know what jollof is?" "No, I've never tried that before." "Lucky for you, I make the best jollof in the world. You don't know what you've been missing. Come, come." Agnes turned out to be a breath of fresh air, a lively addition to our usually dull suburban life. We bonded over shared interests, and her stories about Nigeria and other countries she had visited brought something new to our corner of the world. Not to mention that jollof rice was one of the best things I've ever tasted, so spicy and flavorful. Weeks went by, and as our friendship grew, Agnes brought a sense of life back into me. She became more than just a neighbor. She was someone I could really talk to. Our friendship was a reminder that life had more to offer than the routines we'd gotten stuck in. Now, here's the curveball. Andre, the family man himself, didn't quite appreciate my newfound zest for life. Turns out he loved the old Monica, and he thought that me hanging out with Agnes would give me bad ideas, whatever the hell that meant. Maybe he thought that I would finally realize my self-worth and leave his adamant self. He couldn't fathom the idea of his wife having interests and dreams beyond what he'd mapped out for us. It wasn't part of his plan. I'm sure he was saying in his head, it was like I committed a crime by having a friend. Honestly, I thought that he was even being racist for getting all pissy about this, because why would he be upset at my newfound happiness with a new friend? Was it because she was Nigerian? Because he didn't have any problems with my other neighborhood friends, so why was he particularly upset with Agnes? Our marriage turned into this bizarre tug of war, and my arms were getting tired. Agnes fascinated me with the stories of her travels all over the world, and it made me feel stupid for never even renewing my passport so that I too could go sightseeing. She was so accomplished, and she looked like she was at peace. I envied that. Well, as I'm sure you lovely bunch must know, what comes up always eventually has to come down. The initial buzz of having a new neighbor kind of died down. There were only so many places to show her around town, so Agnes settled into a routine, and soon she was caught up with work, leaving me with the same old suburban blues. Boredom crept back in, making the routine of being a housewife feel even more hopeless. The dream I once thought was safe and predictable now felt like a prison. But then a light bulb moment hit me. Why not get a job? Something to break free from the monotony and add a dash of excitement to my life. I was eager to share my newfound plan with Andre, thinking he would be thrilled at the prospect of me doing something for myself. However, the reaction I got was far from what I expected. Instead of support, Andre lost his cool. He started yelling, demanding to know what had gotten into me. The intensity of his reaction took me by surprise, and what followed was one of our biggest fights yet. I couldn't understand why my desire for a job would elicit such a strong negative response. The dream of a picket fence and predictability was starting to feel more like a nightmare. Hey, Andre, I've been thinking, I want to get a job. What? Are you out of your mind? Who's going to take care of the house and the kids? Well, I was thinking we could share responsibilities. I want something more in my life. More? You're just like that neighbor Agnes, aren't you? She's putting these ideas in your head. Agnes has nothing to do with this. I need something for myself, Andre. Selfish. You're jeopardizing our family for your own selfish desires. I can't keep living this way, Andre. We're both miserable. Oh, now you're the expert on our lives, thanks to your new liberator, Agnes. Stop blaming Agnes. This isn't about her. It's about me. I deserve more. It's also about us and our marriage. Why can't you see how unhappy I am? You've changed, Monica. I don't even recognize you anymore. Maybe I needed to change. Maybe we both do. The argument escalated with hurtful words exchanged, leaving scars on our relationship. The dream of a picture-perfect life was shattering, revealing the fractures that had been building beneath the surface. This was one of our worst fights, and I think a part of me knew that there was no turning back from this. I embraced my new job with enthusiasm, relishing the creativity and excitement it brought into my life. The mundane suburban routine was replaced with the fast-paced world of fashion, and I couldn't have been happier, despite my happiness. There was one certain energy-sucking vampire lurking in the corners of my home. Andre's resentment lingered like a storm cloud. I chose to ignore his passive-aggressive comments and focus on my own journey of self-discovery. I believed in leading by example for my daughters, showing them the importance of pursuing their dreams and that nothing was impossible. As time went on, me and Andre settled into a silent agreement, avoiding confrontations and pretending everything was fine. I wished my husband would open up, but his walls seemed to be strong. The tension between us was sick, and it was so frustrating sharing a bed with someone who wasn't willing to love me. Focusing on my career and personal growth, I continued to climb higher, leaving the shadows of my past life behind. I had only been there for about 3 months, but already I was dominating. And if I do say so myself, I was super proud of what I was accomplishing. Of course, I couldn't share the good news with my husband because it would probably just spark another argument, so I kept it all in. I would try and share the news with Agnes, but her responses were dwindling as the weeks went by, and I didn't know why. I didn't want to bother her, so I also stopped responding as often, just so she knew I was giving her her space. I'm not going to lie, it stung a bit to see that we weren't as close as we were before, but unfortunately, that's just the way adulting works sometimes. Fast forward to a day when I wasn't working. I had taken the day off to spend some time taking care of one of my daughters because she was sick. But then, out of the blue, a series of angry knocks echoed through my front door. Opening it, I found Agnes standing there, her face a storm of anger that I hadn't seen coming. "Is everything okay?" "I need to talk to you. I saw your car in the driveway and decided that we needed to sort this out once and for all." "What are you talking about?" "What am I talking about? Please, Monica, don't make me act out of character. I've been patient with you long enough, but at this point I feel like I'm being disrespected." "I don't know what's going on, Agnes." "Is this about texting? I'm sorry, I haven't texted as much, but with your lack of response, I thought that I was being annoying." "No, it's not about the text. Why are you acting thick right now? You and your husband are a real case, you know that?" "Agnes, please tell me what the problem is." "For the millionth time, the noise is the problem." "What noise?" "Listen, Monica, you're a nice girl. It's a shame it's come down to this, but I'm going to say it one last time. And if I have to say it again, I'll just call the police on you two. Keep the noise down. I hear you and your husband getting it on every single day. Are you two not tired? Because I am. It's too much. Every time I've come to knock here and complain about your noise, your idiot husband has greeted me with a stupid smile and told me that you two would keep it down. But you don't. You just go at it like wild animals. And I get migraines from hearing you two." I was shocked, you all. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What noises? What the hell was she talking about? "Hello? Monica, are you even listening to me?" I'm normally at work all day." "What?" "I'm always at work. Today is the first day I've ever had a day off. And Andre isn't home right now. He never comes home during the day. And I'm always at work. What noise are you talking about?" "Oh, honey." I was standing there, tears streaming down my face, the reality of the situation hitting me like a ton of bricks. Agnes, now apologetic and sympathetic, tried to console me, explaining that she had no clue Andre was cheating. She thought I was always at home, which was why she was avoiding me in the neighborhood and not texting as often. She thought I was disrespecting her for not listening to her request to keep the noise down. I was humiliated, and the nausea was rising in my throat. I couldn't believe that Andre, my husband, would betray me in such a blatant and heartless manner within the walls of our supposedly sacred family home. The guy who was all about family was cheating. How rich. Agnes, in her kindness, came inside and made me tea, assuring me that everything would be all right. But in that moment, defeat and anger overwhelmed me. This was the final straw, and as the sadness transformed into rage, I realized that the man I had thought was the love of my life was in fact the most awful person I had ever known. I was so angry, you all. At that moment, I thought I'd explode. I'm going to make sure he regrets the day he ever met me. I swear it. When Agnes asked me what I was going to do, I smiled like a Cheshire cat and told her what I was thinking at that moment. By the look on her face, I could tell that she was just as wicked as I was. I can't say that it's a good thing, but it's certainly justified. Have at it, darling. And if you need me for anything, just let me know. But in the meantime, let me make some popcorn. Agnes left me when she ensured that I was okay and said that she was one call away. Hours had gone by at this point, and I felt that my plan was finally ready. As Andre walked through the door later that day, I greeted him with a disarming kiss, catching him off guard. The subtle play of confusion on his face only fueled my determination. Immediately afterward, a slap echoed through the room as I unleashed the anger I'd bottled up for far too long. Andre's immediate reaction was a mix of surprise and anger. "What the hell, Monica? That hurt. What is wrong with you?" "I should be the one asking you about that." "What are you talking about? Have you gone insane?" "You think this is insane? Just wait a couple more minutes." "Answer me now. What's happening?" "Are you cheating on me, Andre?" Andre shifted from anger to looking like a deer in headlights. "What are you talking about?" "Are you cheating on me?" "Of course not. Why would you even ask me something like that?" "Yeah, Andre, why would I ask you that? It's not like it's coming out of nowhere." Andre kept on denying it, and I was getting pissed off. "So, what you're telling me is that you haven't been coming home during the day these past couple of months?" "Honestly, babe, I can't remember. Can we just drop it?" "Oh, you don't remember? Well, let me jog your memory." He asked me what I meant, and I told him that we could go through the cameras and be surprised together. Predictably, Andre persisted in his denials, even as the video was starting to play. It was at this point that I revealed my plan. "Do you remember this now, huh?" "Oh, cat got your tongue. Well, I hope you think of something to say soon, because everyone in the neighborhood is seeing this right now." "What?" "Yep, you heard that right, folks. I was broadcasting the CCTV footage to the neighborhood group chat. Don't worry, there weren't any kids in there. Everyone in the group chat was responding with absolute disgust and shock, wondering how everyone's favorite family man was a dirty, lying scumbag. Andre also checked the notifications on his phone, showing that he was getting tons of hate. Someone in the group decided to screen record some of the footage and post it on Twitter, because everything goes on Twitter, and it was also gaining traction. Additionally, Andre was getting messages from his supervisors at work asking him what the hell he was thinking. "Monica, why are my supervisors texting me? Did you send this to them too?" "Yep. Actually, no, wait, that's a lie. I sent it to your boss." "Yep, you also heard that right." The videos were circulating not only within our neighborhood group chat and a small part of the internet, but I also forwarded them to his unsuspecting employers. To add salt to his wounds, I used his own email address, making it seem like he was doing this on his own. I wanted him to feel the weight of the shame he had recklessly brought into the sanctity of our home. Andre's entrance into our home that evening was met with an unexpectedly warm welcome. As he leaned in for a kiss, I redirected my emotions into a slap that resounded through the room. "What the hell is wrong with you? You're going to ruin my life." "I'm pretty sure it's already ruined, babe. It's going to be hard to come back from this. You had no right to expose me like that. And you had no right to cheat on me. Remember our vows? But this is taking things way too far. How am I going to recover from this? I don't care. You humiliated me. It was time for you to pay. You've treated me like crap for all these years, and it was time for me to get my life back. You're crazy. And you're a dirty, cheating scumbag, and now everyone knows it too. In the aftermath of everything that went down, Andre's life crumbled around him. Good. The once respected family man became a pariah, a source of shame for his friends, co-workers, and family. The negative buzz surrounding his name all around the neighborhood and on Twitter soon led to the swift termination of his employment. Something about bad press. With no job to sustain him and no wife to love him, he ended up hotel hopping, racking up a bill because he insisted on living in luxury. Anyway, the way he spends his money is no longer my business because I'm in the middle of processing for a divorce. As for our home, it underwent a transformation, a cleanse, if you will. The air felt lighter without the burden of Andre's lies hanging over us. The girls, although they were a bit too young to fully understand what was going on, knew that Daddy had hurt Mommy, and that was enough for them at the moment. Though the wounds were still fresh, I was glad that this happened. It was like getting rid of a growth. It was my chance to rebuild, rediscover myself, and redefine what life could be beyond the suffocating confines of an unfulfilling marriage. Hey guys, I'm Mary, 38 female, originally from Colombia. I'm going to tell you a story about my toxic ex-husband. I was 23, tired of my toxic family drama, and dreaming of a better life. So I hopped on a plane, touched down in the Lone Star State, and damn, the heat hit me like a brick wall. It was like walking into an oven, but hey, at least it wasn't my family's drama. Now, I didn't exactly roll into Texas with a suitcase full of cash. Nope. I ended up in a woman's shelter for a bit. Let me tell you, those ladies were a lively bunch. We had everything from aspiring poets to DIY beauty experts. Living there was like being part of a quirky sitcom, minus the laugh track. But you know what? I loved every minute of it. We'd swap stories, share our dreams, and heck, we even had a makeshift karaoke night. It was like finding a little family away. All right, buckle up because this part of the story is straight out of a romance movie. So there I was, minding my own business, in the shelter one day, waiting in line for some mystery casserole or whatever they were serving that day. And then in walks Levi. Now, normally people coming into the shelter was no big deal. We got social workers, volunteers, and folks wanting to donate blankets or canned goods. The place was just a revolving door for all sorts of people. But when I saw Levi, y'all, it's like my heart hit the floor. I mean, who invited Prince Charming to the homeless shelter? I sure didn't. This guy was drop-dead gorgeous, and I was just standing there with my tray thinking, what in the world is he doing here? I'm not gonna lie, he looked like he stepped out of a GQ magazine. Our eyes locked, and he caught me staring like a deer in headlights, but instead of being weirded out, he grinned like he just won the lottery and made his way over to me. My English at the time was, let's say, a work in progress. But Levi didn't seem to mind. He was patient, kind, and genuinely interested in getting to know me. He drops this bombshell, calling me beautiful, saying a girl like me shouldn't be in a place like this. I was thinking, you got that right, Levi. But I played it cool. Turns out this handsome fellow was one of the social workers assigned to help out. There were a lot of the ladies who were dealing with PTSD, anxiety and depression. So he decided to take on extra shifts just to help out a bit more. But after a couple of weeks, he told me the real reason he wanted to take on extra shifts. To be honest, Mary, I wanted to see more of you. Really? Yeah, it's crazy to say it out loud, but you make me feel really good and I want to see more of you. Let me tell you, that man had me blushing more than a schoolgirl with a crush. So fast forward a few months and it was pretty obvious to everyone at the Women's Center that Levi and I basically were a thing. We didn't slap any labels on it, but we weren't scared of hiding it either. We just rolled with it. Levi, he just got me, you know. He made me feel seen and heard in a way nobody else ever had. Now, living in the shelter was like being in a fishbowl. Some folks were happy for us, cheering us on like we were a real-life fairy tale. Others, well, they were a mix of jealous and bitter. And then there were the ones who simply didn't care. But hey, I was happy, and that's what mattered. After a while, Levi told me he had something to tell me. What is it, Levi? I want you to move in with me. Please say yes. What? Did I hear that right? He wanted me to leave the shelter and be with him? That was insane. I'll admit I hesitated for a hot minute. Moving in with a guy I'd known for less than a year, it sounded crazy, but life's short, right? So I thought, why not? And took the leap. Levi and I moved into our little love nest, and let me tell you, it felt so freeing. From a women's shelter to an actual home. Talk about moving up in the world, just like I always wanted. And just when I thought life couldn't get any better, Levi pulled out all the stops. He goes down on one knee and proposes on New Year's Day, right when the countdown hits 0. Romantic as all get out, right? That man lifted me off my feet and took me straight to cloud 9. He was always pampering me, buying me gifts, telling me how much he loved me, how much he cared. I mean, who needs a fairy tale when you've got Levi, right? It was like living in a constant state of bliss, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Life was good. Life was perfect. So after riding that honeymoon phase high, Levi drops a bomb on me. Something. 3 months into our wedded bliss, he came up to me and said, "Hey, babe." Hey. "So there's something I want to tell you. I want you to meet my friends. I think it's time." Now, you might be scratching your head thinking, how did you not know about his friends this whole time? Well, folks, it's a little more complicated than it seems. See, Levi always told me he didn't really have friends, that his only buddies were his co-workers, whom I knew from the shelter. But out of the blue, he springs these dinner plans with some people who were his old school buddies. And get this, they were big shots. Businessmen, lawyers, not exactly the usual crowd for a social worker. "Why didn't you tell me about these fancy-ass friends of yours?" "Well, because..." "And what am I even supposed to wear?" "Don't worry, babe, I got you covered." "But babe, these people are the big shots. You said it yourself. I'm going to need an extra fancy dress or something." Now, imagine my surprise when Levi continues to spill the tea. On top of not telling me about his friends, he also didn't tell me about his net worth. Turns out he was not just a social worker because he's a do-gooder. No, he comes from a wealthy family. Social work was just a thing he did on the side because apparently he loved it. That's why he could afford all those fancy gifts he'd been showering me with. I got to admit, I was hurt. I mean, the man lied about his identity and kept me from meeting his real friends. It felt iffy, you know. But then I tried to be reasonable. Love makes you do crazy things, right? I figured maybe he was just caught up in the whirlwind of our fast-paced life and it was better late than never. So we went to this fancy dinner with these high flyers and they're talking about stocks, real estate and all sorts of things I'm just nodding along to. I kept trying to jump into the conversation, but no one was letting me speak, including Levi. He would just drone on and on about how beautiful and exotic I was, and his friends would also ogle at me. I just felt like a fish out of water. Looking back, I should have known that all of these were red flags. Not being honest with me, calling me exotic, letting his friends eye me like that, it was a lot to take in. But at the time, I would ignore these uneasy feelings and just keep smiling. Love, as they say, can make you forgive a whole bunch of mess. Fast forward a couple of years and it's like time was on fast forward, you all. The love that once had us floating on cloud nine, well, it was slowly fizzling out like a soda left open for too long. I was trying to rekindle our connection, don't get me wrong. I did my part as a wife and a friend, but Levi? Man, he was always preoccupied with everything but me. I felt abandoned just like back in Colombia. I wondered how I got myself into this mess. It was beyond frustrating being with him. Every attempt to get his attention felt like talking to a brick wall. But oh, when we'd go out together, it was a whole different story. Levi would pull 180, showering me with kisses and showing me off to his friends like I was some trophy wife. Just look at her! Isn't she gorgeous? Public displays of affection? We had that down. Everyone must have thought that we had the healthiest relationship ever. But private conversations? Yeah. There were barely any of those anymore. Destiny's Child, Say My Name, became my anthem because, let's be real, it was like I was living that song. He only seemed to love me in public, and in private, it was crickets. Honestly, the thought of leaving crossed my mind more than once, but how could I? I had no job, no money, nada. Levi was all I knew in America, and I felt trapped. It was like being caught in a web with no way out. I was living that love story, but without the happily ever after part. Things had gone on like this for ages. And I was getting so fed up with him. I had gotten so used to his absence. So I found myself spending time with some peanut and the couch with some good shows. So there I was, chilling on the couch, watching some Netflix, minding my own business as usual, when my phone rang. It was Levi. I was feeling a bit giddy. I thought that he would take me out or call me and tell me what a fool he's been for treating me like a roach. Hey, babe. Mary, listen, I don't have much time. What's wrong? I need you to come to the bar right now. This got me excited. You see, earlier in the night before he left to go drinking with his buddies, I had asked if I could tag along, and he said he didn't want me going there. Not because it would be too rowdy, not because it would be too much for me to handle, but because, according to him, I'd be cramping his style. Can you imagine? The man who was so obsessed with showing off his exotic and curvy Colombian woman was now afraid that I'd be cramping his style. We got into a little argument about it, and he kind of revealed how he's always felt about me. Just as some piece of arm candy to show off to his friends. This crushed me. I didn't want to yell or scream or fight because, again, without him, I had nothing. I had stupidly placed all my bets on this man, and now I felt like I was trapped. So you can understand why I felt a bit hopeful when he invited me to the bar. I thought that he finally wanted to hang out with me. You want me to come, really? Yeah, babe, quickly. I'll send you the location. Just hurry, okay? What are we gonna do when I get there? That doesn't matter. Just come quickly. My friends want to see you. Oh. Yeah, so what time will you get here? You know, Levi, I'm sick of you fetishizing me. What? What the hell are you talking about? You always parade me around your friends like I'm some doll. I'm not coming. Mary, I swear to God. You didn't want me to come in the first place, right? So I'm going to continue watching my show. Have a nice night. We got into it. A real knockdown, drag-out argument. Words were flying and I wasn't holding back. It's like, make up your mind, Levi. I felt like a puppet and he was pulling all the strings. I was done being a showpiece for his fancy friends. It was time for him to get a reality check. And let me tell you, that argument was the tipping point. But, call me stupid or crazy, maybe I'm both. But I gave in. Levi started showering me with all these words and promises on how he was going to do better, telling me he was sorry for everything he had done and that he needed me right now. So what did I do? I went up to get dressed and headed out to the sports bar he was talking about. I got into my car and made my way to his location. The streets were pretty empty because it was late at night, so I was cruising down the highway trying to shake off that argument with Levi and remain hopeful for the change he promised to give me. But life, being the tricky thing it is, decided to shake things up for me. There was this lunatic drunk driver on the road who was swerving and honking like crazy, making us all anxious, and to avoid a disaster, I ended up swerving off the road, crashing into the side of the road. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital, and there was Levi scowling like it was his job. "Good, you're up." He sounded pissed and annoyed, not a single indication of concern on his face. Go figure. When I took a good look around, I saw his drinking buddies in the room, but this time they weren't ogling me like before. Nope, they were looking at me with disinterest or downright disgust. Complete 180 from their earlier stares. Confused as heck, I asked Levi what happened. Instead of a straight answer, he starts yelling at me, accusing me of driving like a maniac, and that I ruined everything. The thing is, I didn't remember much at the time. I tried explaining that to him, telling him that the last thing I remember was driving on the highway, but he wasn't having it. His friends, one by one, started leaving without so much as a get well soon or anything that showed that they gave a damn. Levi then got up close and personal. "You're pathetic, Mary." And before I could even react or ask him more questions, he walked out, leaving me sobbing alone in the hospital. I cried myself to sleep, waking up the next morning to grab my phone, which was by my bedside. And just when I was about to call Levi, or call someone, or just check what day it was, I was met with a beast in the reflection. Yep, I had a busted, swollen face with a huge-ass scar from my forehead to my cheek. I tried touching it, praying it wasn't real, hoping that this was just some scary-ass nightmare, but the pain was confirmation enough that it was all too real. I searched around the room for a mirror, and I saw one in the corner. I shifted up on my elbows to get a better look at myself, and sure enough, staring right back at me was what I saw in the phone. A beast. I couldn't even recognize myself. I was hideous and scarred. Confusion took over, and the tears just kept coming. That's when the doctor walked in, saw how upset I was, and decided to sit down, trying to calm me down. Life had taken a sharp turn, and I was lost in a maze of pain and betrayal. The doctor laid it all out for me, explaining how I got into this accident. But when I asked about Levi, he looked upset and handed me an envelope, saying he'd give me some privacy to read it. Once he left, I tore that thing open, and there it was, a letter from Levi, saying all sorts of crazy stuff. "Mary, I'm sure you know that it was bound to come to this. I don't love you anymore. I don't think that this is going anywhere, and I'm sure you feel it too, so that's why I have to release you with love. I have to let you go because I need you to do better for yourself, and I need to do better for me too. I can't possibly imagine a life with you after this accident. It scarred us both." Wow, really? Because last time I checked, I was the one with scars. No one would want to wake up next to a scary face every morning. It would drive the strongest man insane. So that's why I want a divorce. We both deserve better. He went on to say he'd graciously cover my medical bills because he's just such a kind soul. Oh, and tucked in there were divorce papers too. I lost it, you all. Knocked down the water bottles beside me and threw my phone across the room. I was mad, upset, and feeling a pain I'd never known. This was the man who couldn't take his eyes off me when we first met, and now he wanted nothing to do with me. The sobs must have been real loud because the doctor came back in. He did his best to console me, saying he had a feeling the letter wasn't good news. He called Levi and his friends a bunch of ogres, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. The rest of the day was a blur of tears and trying to wrap my head around what the heck my life was going to look like from here on out. It felt like the ground had been pulled from under me, and I was left free-falling into the unknown. So, after dragging myself through the mess of the divorce with Levi and healing up in the hospital, I felt like I was back to square one, hopeless, lost, and alone. The idea of going back to the shelter crossed my mind, but life had a surprise waiting for me. The doctor who took care of me came through like a guardian angel. He offered me his guest house and suggested I work at his niece's cafe to help pay him back. It was a lifeline, and I grabbed it. Before I knew it, I was back on my feet, smiling, healing, laughing again. The accident, even Levi, started to feel like a distant memory. Fast forward 2 years, and there I am, not slinging lattes as a barista, but managing a quaint little cafe. You heard that right. I was now the manager of this place. I guess all these years of selling tamales and arepas on the busy streets of Colombia paid off. Life had a funny way of turning around, and then, out of the blue, I saw Levi. Beard all graying, walking in with someone who looked like she barely finished high school. They were giggling about something, and for a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but as he approached the counter, I knew for sure that it was my good-for-nothing ex-husband. I couldn't believe my eyes. Here I was, hustling and rebuilding my life, and he waltzed in like it's just another day. It hit me, though, that I'd come a long way from the mess he left me in. I held my head high, readying myself for this showdown. Oh, they'd love to meet you. I've shown them your pictures, and they said you're gorgeous. Hi, how may I assist you today? Hi, can we do a... Wait, Mary? I'm sorry. Mary, it's you? Do I know you? Yes, I was playing dumb. I wasn't about to let that clown know that I knew it was him. I wanted to bruise his ego a bit, and it seemed to work because he frowned when I said that. It's me, Levi. Oh, I could barely recognize you. Your scar, it's gone. Yep. That's what some good old-fashioned aloe vera and shea butter can do to you. And the melanin doesn't hurt either. But I mean, it's still visible in the right light. You look... wow. His date started looking uncomfortable, so I turned to her and said, Hey, sweetheart, I'm sure you won't believe me when I say this, but that gut feeling you're feeling right now, the thing that's telling you to run for the hills, you better listen to that. Otherwise, he'll draw you in with all these fake promises and lies. Hey, don't talk to her like that. Don't listen to her, baby. She's out of her mind. I don't even know this woman. Oh, yeah? Then how did you remember my name, jackass? The girl asked me who I was, and I told her that I was his ex-wife. She didn't seem to like that answer too much because she hit him and then stormed out of the cafe. What the hell was that for? For all the years I put up with your crap. You're lucky I'm not calling the cops. Oh, calm down. She's 19 years old, so it's legal. It's still sick, Levi. I'm shocked, but honestly, I'm not surprised. Anyway, it's no matter. I see you're looking good. Really good. I'm going to have to stop you right there, buddy. I'm not interested. What? Why not? Gee, let's see. Maybe it's because you left me when I needed it the most. Maybe it's because for the entirety of our marriage you treated me like I was some shiny toy you only took out to show off to your friends. Maybe it's because you're a scumbag who is sleeping with 19-year-olds. Maybe it's because, all right, I get it. Sheesh, Mary, that was the old me. I was a child back then. That's funny because just 5 seconds ago your girlfriend bolted out of here. That was just a lapse in my judgment. I haven't stopped thinking about you. Good. I hope you continue to think about me. I hope that every waking moment you're haunted by the shit you did to me. I hope you wake up with panic attacks. I hope you never feel any type of peace because you don't deserve it. You're a weak, pathetic, sick man. I'm not even sure if Jesus himself can save you. You're hopeless. You're worthless. You're the one who's pathetic. Levi looked like he wanted to cry. All of my patrons were looking at him with disgust. As I may or may not have shared my story a couple of times already. Levi started stammering and stuttering, trying to come up with an excuse, but all I did was stare at him, silently letting him know that there was nothing he could do or say to me to make me change my mind and get back with him. He eventually left, his shoulders all slumped, muttering something to himself, and I finally felt like I could breathe. Finally, I got to see the look on his face when he realized just how badly he messed up with me. Sometimes the devil is in the details, and I know that he's tormented every day, wondering what to do to get me back. But he should know that that is never, ever gonna happen. Hi folks, I'm Jessica and I'm 27. Alright, so let me tell you about the roller coaster that was my life a few years back. My name's Jessica and I was happily married to Jonathan. We had a great relationship and I truly believed he cared for me deeply. Our families were close-knit and I had integrated him so well into my family, especially since Jonathan didn't have his own parents around. They died when he was young. But one day my world came crashing down when I discovered he was cheating on me. The pain and anger I felt was indescribable. I had given him everything, and this is how he repaid me? At first, I felt bad for him, thinking maybe it was his unresolved trauma from losing his parents that led him astray, but that didn't excuse his actions. I was devastated and I wanted revenge for the pain he put me through. So I decided to hit him where it hurt the most, his wallet. Yep, I went on a spending spree using his money and I don't regret it one bit. Call me petty, but after a 2-year affair with a co-worker, he deserved a taste of his own medicine. I started buying all sorts of lavish things. I got myself designer bags and fancy jewelry, and even treated myself to a luxury spa retreat on multiple occasions. And oh boy, you should have seen his face when he saw the credit card bills. It was priceless. I remember the time I came home with a stunning diamond necklace. His eyes almost popped out of his head when he saw it. But instead of confronting me, he stayed quiet. He knew he had messed up big time, and maybe he thought this was my way of coping. Jessica, is that a new necklace? It's beautiful. Oh, this, yeah. I got it recently. How much did it cost? Oh, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. No, really, tell me. I hope it didn't cost a fortune. I've noticed that you've been spending a lot lately. Well, it was a bit pricey, but I had to treat myself, you know. Yeah, sure, but, we should be careful with our spending. Oh, now you're concerned about spending? Well, I'm concerned with potentially contracting STDs from my cheating husband. Look, I know I messed up, but does that mean we have to waste money? Waste money? Oh, like how you wasted 2 years of our marriage with your affair? Jess, I've said I'm sorry 1,000 times. Can't we move past this? Move past this? How do you expect me to forget what you did? Buying a diamond necklace is the least of your worries. Consider it retribution. I'm trying to make it up to you, but you keep rubbing salt in the wound. I know I hurt you, and I'm trying to fix things, but you're just spending recklessly. Oh, now you're worried about finances. You had no problem spending our money on your affair. Taking her to Cuba, Tijuana, and Fiji. All the places I wanted to go. Okay, I get it. I screwed up big time. But this isn't the way to deal with it. So you're the expert on how to deal with infidelity now? No, I didn't mean it like that. You just what, huh? Yeah, that's what I thought. The truth was, I was angry and hurt. I wanted him to feel some of the pain I felt when I found out about his affair. So I kept spending, and he kept staying silent after I put him in his place. I also used his money to plan a getaway with my closest friends. We went on a luxurious vacation to a tropical paradise, staying in an extravagant villa with a private pool. It was my way of showing him that I could have an amazing time without him and his lies. Every time I swiped his credit card, I felt a little rush of satisfaction. It was as if each purchase was a small victory for me. I know it might not have been the healthiest way to deal with my emotions, but it was my way of coping. As the days went by, Jonathan started to realize that I wasn't going to back down. He saw that I was serious about making him feel the pain he had caused me. It was a bitter pill for him to swallow. But amidst all the revenge, spending, deep down, I still loved him. Despite the betrayal, I couldn't help but feel for the man I once thought was my rock. I wanted him to realize the consequences of his actions and change for the better. So one day, Jonathan had up and left. He was gone for like a week, and I was obviously confused and shocked at this. He kept declining my calls, and I had no idea where he had gone. I wasn't stupid for thinking he was cheating again, and at this point, I was ready to burn all of his clothes. Then something surprising happened. My mom texted me and told me that Jonathan had been staying with them for the time being. She then called me wanting to have a serious talk. She started by saying that she had a heart-to-heart with Jonathan. Apparently he cried to her about my spending habits and how he didn't know what to do about it. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at the thought of him complaining to my mom. I asked my mom if Jonathan had mentioned why I was spending so much, but she seemed a bit hesitant. She said, "Well, he didn't really go into detail, just that you've been spending a lot lately." As I tried to explain to my mom that there was a good reason for my spending, she didn't want to hear it. My dad eventually joined in on the conversation, and instead of understanding my side, they both started berating me for my irresponsible behavior. It felt like a double whammy. Not only did Jonathan cheat on me, but now my parents were yelling at me too. "Mom, Dad, I understand that you're upset about the way I've been spending money, but there's a reason behind it that I need to explain. Honestly, Jessica, there's no excuse for your reckless behavior. We raised you better than this." "How could you be so disrespectful?" "If only you knew the truth." "We're your parents, Jessica. We're here to support you through anything. This isn't like you, baby. What's going on?" I took a deep breath, bracing myself for how they'd react to me telling them everything. I didn't feel obligated to keep Jonathan's secret any longer, since he liked misleading people with half-baked truths. "Mom, Dad, there's something I need to talk to you both about." "Talk to us, sweetie." "Well, you see, I found out something about Jonathan recently, and it's been really difficult for me to process." "What is it, Jessica? You can tell us anything." "Jonathan has been cheating on me for the past 2 years." "Oh, my goodness, I had no idea. That's terrible, honey. I'm so sorry you had to go through this." "Yeah, it's been really tough. I've felt so betrayed." "That bastard! How could he do this to you?" I don't know, Dad, but I've been feeling so hurt and angry that I started spending his money as a way to get back at him. Oh, Jessica. I know, Mom, and I'm sorry. It's just I didn't want to tarnish Jonathan's image in front of you both. I thought I could handle it on my own. We understand that you are trying to protect him, but you don't need to bear this burden alone. We're here for you. Thanks, Dad. I just don't know if I can trust him again. When I shared my findings with my parents, my mom was furious. She couldn't believe that Jonathan had kept this information from them, and she felt betrayed too. She said she was ready to kick him out of the house immediately. My dad was also upset, but he urged us to take a step back and think things through calmly. He knew that emotions were running high, but he wanted us to handle the situation with a clear head. My mom, although angry, agreed to listen to my dad's advice and hold off on any immediate actions. She knew that pushing Jonathan out without a proper plan could lead to more complications. So we all decided to give me some time to process everything and make a decision that was right for me. So after my parents and I had our heart-to-heart conversation, I decided to put on my detective hat and dig deeper into Jonathan's actions. Since he wasn't home, I had free rein to snoop around without him suspecting a thing. I started going through his things, looking for any signs of infidelity. I checked receipts and his laundry for any lingering perfume or lipstick stains, and unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed. I found evidence of him cheating, and it broke my heart all over again. Not stopping there, I went through his email since he had left himself logged into the home computer, and guess what? I discovered even more incriminating evidence. He was planning more extravagant trips with his mistress. I was outraged and devastated, but I knew I had to share my findings with my parents. When I told them what I had uncovered, they were furious too. They couldn't believe that we were harboring a liar and a serial cheater in our own home. My parents asked me what I wanted to do next. They made it clear that they would support me no matter what decision I made. It was comforting to know that they were on my side, ready to help me navigate this difficult situation. As I thought about it, I knew that I couldn't stay in a marriage built on betrayal and lies. I deserved better. And I didn't want to waste any more time with someone who didn't truly love and respect me. I leaned on my parents during this challenging time, and their love and encouragement helped me heal and find my strength. It wasn't easy, but I knew that with their support I could move forward and rebuild my life, and that's exactly what I did. During those days, my parents were a constant source of support and comfort. They reminded me that I was strong and capable, and they assured me that whatever decision I made, they would stand by me. It was tough navigating this difficult time, but with my parents by my side, I felt more confident in handling the situation. I knew that I deserved better than a partner who betrayed my trust, and I was determined to find my path forward, even if it meant walking away from a marriage that had once brought me happiness. The plan was set in motion. My parents wanted to see if Jonathan would finally come clean about his affairs, if he believed they were going to disown me and take him in as their new son. So they sweet-talked him, pretending to be disgusted with my spending habits and acting like they were going to kick me out of their lives. Of course, like the lying dirtbag he is, he didn't come clean about anything, even if my relationship with my own parents was on the line, so they set the plan in motion. I'm so grateful for my parents because they were really willing to go all in for me. When my mom sent me that text saying, "Let's do it," I knew we were going to teach Jonathan a lesson he'd never forget. They convinced Jonathan to sign over the house to them, making it seem like they were one big happy family. Little did he know that it was all part of the revenge plot to make him realize the consequences of his actions. I was on pins and needles as the plan unfolded, but I knew that my parents had my back and I trusted them completely. They were willing to go to great lengths to help me get the closure I needed. I got the confirmation text from my dad later on in the evening, and I knew we scored big time. We've transferred his house to our name. The plan is a go. I literally jumped up for joy when I saw the text. It was crazy to think that this lavish house was no longer his, but now it belonged to my parents. And it technically also belonged to me. After Jonathan signed the papers, my parents had ownership of the house. It was a powerful move, and I hoped it would make him think twice about the choices he had made. But that wasn't the end of it, folks. You see, my parents were determined to make him understand the gravity of his betrayal. They invited Jonathan to a family dinner, but what he didn't know was that I would be there too, ready to confront him once and for all. And as we sat at the restaurant, my heart was pounding with anticipation. Jonathan arrived looking confused and demanding an explanation. I took a deep breath and decided it was time to reveal the truth. Surprise, Jonathan! This was all part of the plan. We wanted you to see what it feels like to be deceived and betrayed. Doesn't feel too nice, does it? He looked embarrassed and shocked, not expecting this turn of events. My mom spoke up, her voice firm but compassionate. Did you really think we would betray our own daughter? We love her so much, and we're always going to be on her side. Jonathan tried to make excuses, but it was clear that he was caught off guard. He begged for his house back, but my parents stood their ground. No, Jonathan, the house is ours now. You signed it over, and you have to face the consequences of your actions. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as I watched him spiral, regretting the decisions he had made. He was reaping what he had sown. To add the final blow, I slid some divorce papers across the table towards him. Consider this your freedom. You can go on those expensive vacations with your mistress in peace, and I never want to see you again. His face turned pale, realizing that he had lost not only his home but also his marriage. The weight of his actions was finally catching up to him. I stood up, feeling a mix of emotions, but mostly relief. Goodbye, Jonathan. I deserve better, and I'm done with you and your lies. With that, I walked away, leaving him sitting there stunned and speechless. My parents, after giving him an earful of their own, followed me shortly after. It was time for me to start a new chapter in my life, one that didn't involve deceit and heartache. As I walked away from that restaurant, I felt a sense of empowerment and freedom. My parents were by my side, and I knew that I had their unwavering support. I was ready to move forward, knowing that I was strong enough to overcome anything. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing and rebuilding my life. With the love and support of my parents and the strength I found within myself, I knew I would be okay. After the restaurant incident, Jonathan tried reaching out to me, but I wouldn't budge. I had made up my mind and was done with his lies and deceit. He even tried to get his lawyers involved to regain ownership of the house, but it was no use. He signed it over willingly, and there was no foul play involved, so he couldn't get it back. He threatened to sue and make all sorts of crazy demands, but deep down he knew he had lost, and there was no point in arguing anymore. He had to face the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My parents, Erica and Andrew, stood by my side, offering love and support that I had never experienced before. We were a united front, and I felt stronger than ever knowing that they were there for me. In our newly owned house, I decorated every corner with pictures of us, my parents and me, embracing the love and happiness we shared. I made sure to post pictures of our new life on social media, rubbing a little salt in the wound for Jonathan to see. I wanted him to know that I was doing just fine without him, and it felt good to see him scowling and frowning in the background. As time went on, I found solace in my passion for poetry. I threw myself into my work, creating beautiful poems that brought me joy and a sense of accomplishment. My career flourished, and I was receiving recognition for my talent. My parents were so proud of me, and their love and encouragement only fueled my determination to succeed. With the support of my parents and my flourishing career, I found happiness and fulfillment. I realized that I didn't need Jonathan or his lies to define my worth. I had everything I needed right there with my parents, who loved me unconditionally. Life was good, and I was grateful for the lessons I learned from that difficult experience. I learned to stand up for myself and never settle for less than I deserved. I learned to trust my instincts and listen to my intuition. And as time went on, I found love again. I met someone who appreciated me for who I was and treated me with the love and respect I deserved. Together, we built a loving and supportive relationship, and I couldn't be happier. My parents were thriving too. Their bond with me grew stronger, and they found joy in seeing me happy and successful. They also pursued their own interests and passions, living their best lives as well. Looking back, I realized that Jonathan's greed and deceit had cost him more than he could have imagined. He lost not only his home and his money, but also the love and support of a family that he so desperately wanted. It was all his fault, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that I had gotten my revenge in a way that didn't involve stooping to his level. Life was full of surprises, and I was grateful for the love and support I had from my parents. With them by my side, I knew I could conquer anything that came my way. I was no longer defined by the pain of my past, but rather by the strength and resilience I had gained from it. As I continued to thrive in my career, my relationships, and my life, I knew that I was living proof that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and living your best life. And that's exactly what I was doing, living my best life, free from the chains of a toxic relationship and surrounded by love and happiness. Hey there, it's Taslima. I'm 32, female, and I want to share with you a roller coaster of a story that happened in my life. So picture this. I was living a fairly normal life with my husband, Duncan. Like any couple, we had our ups and downs, but I never expected him to treat me the way he did after my car accident. It all started on that fateful day when I got into a terrible accident because some idiot on the road was too busy texting instead of paying attention. I don't even want to think about how my life took a 180-degree turn after that moment. I was left immobilized, and the doctors gave me a slim chance of ever regaining full functionality in my legs. My world crumbled, and depression crept in like an unwelcome guest. I couldn't work anymore, so I lost my job, which just added to the pile of misery. At one point, I even found myself contemplating the unthinkable, suicide. But I held on, hoping for a glimmer of light in this dark tunnel. Duncan, my husband, was supposed to be my rock, my support system during this difficult time. And he did step up initially, I'll give him that. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, I guess he got tired of taking care of me. He started making excuses for not being there for me, conveniently forgetting his vow of in sickness and in health. At first, I believed his excuses. Work was demanding, and I knew he had responsibilities, especially since I wasn't working anymore. I understood that he had to work double time to support us, but it soon became clear that something wasn't right. He'd claim he had to work late or he couldn't drop me off at my physical therapy because Judy called. But here's the thing. Judy was always calling, and I smelt something fishy. Deep down, I started to suspect that he was lying. I tried to confront him about it, but he'd get defensive and turn the tables on me, making me feel guilty for questioning him. I felt so helpless, trapped in a body that didn't function like it used to, and stuck with a husband who seemed to be slipping away. The isolation and emotional pain weighed on me, making every day feel like a never-ending battle. I reached out to friends and family for support, but it just wasn't the same as having Duncan by my side. I yearned for him to be the loving and caring partner he once was, but it felt like he had vanished into thin air. I was tired of feeling like a burden, like my disability was a nuisance to him. So I began to withdraw, not even depending on him to take care of me and support me during my recovery. Strap in, because this part of my story gets even crazier. After I started focusing on my own recovery and pulling away from Duncan, he became even more distant. It's like he couldn't be bothered with me anymore. Sometimes I wouldn't even see him for days or weeks, and he'd always have some excuse about being busy. You'd think that after witnessing my progress in therapy and physical therapy, he'd be excited for me. But nope, not a single word of encouragement or congratulations from him. It felt like I was living with a complete stranger, not my husband, and it was tearing me apart. One day I got a text from a friend who seemed to have some juicy information about Duncan, and boy did she spill the tea. Turns out my dear husband was partying it up at a club, surrounded by booze and not one, not two, but at least 6 girls all over him, kissing and fondling him. Yeah, I had the same reaction. My heart shattered into a million pieces when I saw the screenshots my friend sent me. Someone had posted themselves on their Instagram story, and there was Duncan in the background, caught red-handed, cheating on his wife and enjoying the high life with booze, women, and what appeared to be some hard drugs on the table. I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt like my whole world was crumbling around me. Every time he said he was going on business trips or had to rush to the office, was it all just a bunch of lies? Was he actually rushing to get his fix of drugs and have his little party and cheating escapades? The betrayal cut deep, and I questioned every single thing about our relationship. How could he do this to me, especially when I needed his support the most? I felt so alone and abandoned, and the pain was indescribable. I became even more withdrawn, isolating myself from Duncan even further. He noticed the change in me, but instead of trying to understand or support me, he grew agitated and started blaming me for the problems in our marriage. One day, we got into a huge fight, and man, I swear I could have killed someone that day. Duncan and I sat across from each other at the dinner table, the tension palpable in the air. He looked at me with a mixture of frustration and concern in his eyes. "Taslima, what's been going on with you lately? You've been so withdrawn and I can't seem to reach you. It's like you're shutting me out." I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words to express my feelings without revealing everything I knew. "I'm just going through a tough time, Duncan. You know, about the accident and how it's affected me physically and emotionally. It's been hard for me to cope with everything." "I get that it's been tough, but I feel like you're pushing me away. I'm your husband, Taslima. I should be the one you turn to for support." "Oh, please, Duncan, don't act all high and mighty now. I tried to lean on you at first, but you've been so distant. You're always working late or coming up with some excuse to avoid spending time with me. It's like you're not even here." "Tassie, that's not fair. You know I have a demanding job. You know that. I have to work long hours to provide for us." "Demanding job, my ass." "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Something tells me that maybe you haven't been completely honest about how you're spending your time away from me, Duncan." "What are you trying to say, Taslima?" "I think you know exactly what I'm trying to say. Do you have anything you want to tell me?" "Look, Taslima, I get it. You're upset because your legs don't work anymore. I can't imagine how tough this is for you. But this is tough for me too." "Nice." "I didn't sign up for this, okay? I didn't expect our life to be like this. I thought things would be different. None of us expected this, Duncan. Life threw us a curveball, and I'm trying my best to deal with it. But it's hard when I feel like I don't have my partner by my side. It's hard when you're always out doing God knows what. Working, okay? I'm working. Yeah, I bet you are. I bet you're just grinding and hustling 24/7. Thank you, Duncan, for your incessant hard work. Duncan looked taken aback by my words, and I could see the guilt flicker in his eyes. He knew that he hadn't been there for me when I needed him the most. I didn't realize it was affecting you this much. I thought you were getting better. I am getting better. Not that you're ever around to notice. He, for whatever reason, started looking guilty, but I couldn't care less about his feelings anymore. All I could think about was how I had been lied to and deceived by the person who was supposed to love and care for me. I wanted revenge to make him feel the pain and betrayal he had caused me. But I knew that I had to bide my time, to wait for the right moment to strike. I couldn't risk confronting him without a plan in place. So I continued to play my part, pretending that I didn't know what he was doing, while I plotted my revenge and escape. I reached out to friends and family for support, and they became my lifeline during those dark days. I knew that I had to find a way out of this toxic marriage, no matter how difficult it would be. I deserved better than a loveless relationship with a cheating husband. As the days went by, I kept waiting for the right moment to get back at Duncan. I was so fed up with how he treated me after my accident, and I wanted to make him regret it big time. With him hardly ever around, I had plenty of time to snoop around and find a way to get back at him and show him what he did to me was not okay. One day, while he was at work, I decided to dig into his home office files. And there it was, his upcoming business proposal. He had put so much effort into it, and it looked like a surefire way for him to score a promotion or a fat bonus at the very least. This discovery had an extra bonus because it reminded me of his habit of keeping just one copy. He believed having more than one copy, including a digital one, would make him overthink and ruin it. I used to think it was cute, but now I see it as plain dumb. But hey, his carelessness was my golden ticket. I knew I could mess with his big shot at success and teach him a lesson. I made a sneaky call to his assistant, pretending I needed to discuss his schedule for a surprise dinner date. Casually, I asked her about Duncan's upcoming meetings and when he'd make the proposal. Bingo, she spilled the beans. The presentation was in 2 days, and I couldn't have asked for a better time to expose him. I was waiting patiently for my husband to come home, but hours had gone by and there was no sign of him. I couldn't believe it. When I realized Duncan wasn't going to come home that night, I gave him a call. But he kept rejecting my calls, and I had a sinking feeling in my gut. I knew he was probably out partying and fooling around with other girls as usual. Then a text came in from him. He had the audacity to say this: "Hey babe, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you, but I'm on my way to Germany. I'll be gone for a while. It was a very impromptu trip, so I'm sorry I forgot to tell you." Did he think I was some kind of fool? How could he say something so casually? More importantly, how could he just drop that bomb on me and expect everything to be okay? In a pathetic attempt to make up for his lack of communication, he then texted, "What do you want me to get you from Germany?" Ugh, how dare he try to act like everything was normal after what he did. Fuming with anger, I knew he was lying about his whereabouts. How do I know, you may ask? Well, when I snooped around earlier, I saw his passport lying in his home office. He couldn't even bother to hide it properly. What an idiot. Without hesitation, I texted him back. I was done with games. This was the last straw. "Don't even bother lying to me. I know you're not in Germany. Your passport is right here at home in your office, so stop with the games." Feeling the need to hit him with undeniable proof, I sent him a picture of his passport sitting on his desk. I wanted him to know that I wasn't falling for his lies anymore. His responses were all over the place. He kept typing and then deleting his messages, clearly trying to come up with more lies, but I wasn't having any of it. You can't just treat me like garbage and then pretend like nothing happened. It's not fair and it's not going to work anymore. I know everything. I know about the cheating, the drugs, and the partying. But instead of facing the music, he just continued to avoid the truth. It was clear that he didn't have the guts to own up to what he did. I felt a mix of emotions, anger, hurt, and disappointment. How could I have ever loved a man who could do this to me? I deserved better than this, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it anymore. I was seething with anger, and I knew I had to take things up a notch. My initial plan of sabotaging his work papers felt too mild now. I wanted to hit him where it really hurt the most. I wanted everything to be ruined. I called my closest friends and told them I needed their help with my revenge plan. They were more than eager to assist me after everything I had been through with Duncan. One of my friends, who happened to be a lawyer, agreed to send over some divorce papers. It was time to show Duncan that I wasn't going to be his doormat anymore. With everything in place, my friends and I set our plan in motion. I began packing up my belongings, preparing to leave that house that once held so much love and happiness, but now only held painful memories. As I packed, a mix of emotions overwhelmed me. I was sad to be leaving behind the life I once knew, but at the same time I felt a sense of empowerment and freedom. I was finally taking control of my life. Before leaving, I decided to give Duncan a taste of his own medicine. I turned on all the taps in the house, leaving them running so that the house would flood by the morning. It was a symbolic act, a representation of how he had let our relationship drown in lies and betrayal. I wanted him to see the mess he had created, just like he had left me to deal with the mess he caused in my life. As I was driven away from that house, I couldn't help but look back one last time. The sight of it filled me with mixed emotions. It was a place that had once been my sanctuary, but now it represented heartache and deception. Oh boy, let's talk about the aftermath of my revenge plan. After I left that flooded house, I decided I didn't want anything to do with Duncan anymore. He kept calling me, sending me texts left and right saying how sorry he was and all that jazz, but I was done with his lies and excuses. I texted him back telling him to brace himself for the divorce papers that were on their way to the mailbox since the house was flooded. It was time for him to face the consequences of his actions, and then, without giving him a chance to reply, I blocked his number. A few days passed and he still couldn't get through to me, so he tried reaching out to my friends, hoping they'd talk some sense into me, I guess. But they had my back all the way. They told me he was fuming when he found the house all flooded and his precious work ruined. Remember that brilliant proposal he made? Yeah, that one got drenched too. Ha! Talk about karma biting him in the butt. He realized there wasn't enough time to whip up a new proposal and he was panicking like crazy. His bosses were probably ready to skin him alive, and on top of that, he had to deal with the fact that I was getting ready to divorce him. What a headache for him. My friends and I had a good laugh about it. I mean, it was a bit evil, but come on, he had it coming. He thought he could treat me like trash and get away with it. Not on my watch. You'd think that the story would end there, huh? But nay, folks, it actually got worse. Let me tell you about the showdown between me and Duncan. So, after all the chaos I caused, he finally managed to track me down at my friend's apartment. I was still steaming with anger, but he looked just as mad. He barged in, completely disrespecting my friend's privacy, and that's when I let loose on him. I cussed him out like there was no tomorrow, calling him every name in the book. I mean, how could he do all those things to me after everything we had been through? It's bad enough that you're avoiding my calls. Now you're cursing at me? That's low, Taz. Avoiding your calls? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you expect me to be all lovey-dovey after everything you've done? Look, I messed up, okay? I know I made some mistakes, but that doesn't give you the right to ruin my life. Mistakes? You call cheating on me and lying about it a mistake? You're a lowlife, Duncan. Then this man had the audacity to start crying. The nerve. My life is falling apart because of what you did. Oh, poor you. Your life is falling apart. Maybe you shouldn't have betrayed and lied to your own wife. You messed with the wrong woman, Duncan. You're making me out to be the villain here. You're the one who flooded my house. You're the one who ruined my big presentation and got me demoted. You should be glad that that's all I did. Imagine if I could use my legs properly. You wouldn't know peace again. Then I dropped another bomb on him that he wasn't expecting. I told him that I leaked that picture of him doing drugs and being a womanizer to his assistant. Yeah, you heard it right. I wanted him to pay for his actions, and now he could expect to get fired real soon. What? Looks like that demotion is the least of your worries, mate. You're insane! You know that! Maybe, but that's why you shouldn't have messed with me. Duncan was a mess, I tell you. It was actually very embarrassing to witness. He kept crying and shouting, and I could see the total despair in his face. And let me tell you, I was glad. I told him he should be grateful that I didn't burn the whole house down with all his precious work. That would have been a real disaster for him. At that point, I was so done with him, I couldn't stand the sight of him anymore. So I looked him dead in the eye and said, I never want to see you again. Get the hell out before we call the cops. And you know what? I meant every word of it. He stormed out of there, probably realizing that he messed up big time. But you know what? I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was finally free from all the lies and deceit. From that day on, I focused on rebuilding my life, and I never looked back. I surrounded myself with friends who truly cared about me, and I found a new sense of purpose and happiness. Sure, it wasn't easy, and there were still days when I felt angry and hurt, but I knew I was stronger than ever, and I would never let anyone treat me like that again. So that's how my story goes. I went through hell and back, but I came out on top. And you know what? I wouldn't change a thing, because in the end, I found my strength, my voice, and most importantly, my freedom. And that, my friend, is a victory worth celebrating.